Hello friends, welcome back to another lecture. Now in this lecture we will look at the mathematical part of Bollinger Band and see how these bands are calculated. Well, it's not that complex as you might be thinking. But please note you can easily skip this lecture if you are not that much interested to look into the calculative part of Bollinger Bands. But if you really want to know how these bands are plotted on your charts, then you should definitely move forward with the lecture. Because simply plotting these bands into your charts is not enough, you should also know what's going behind these bands, and this will in fact help you in twisting the default values as per your needs or what works best for you. Now by now you know that Bollinger Bands consist of a middle band with two outer bands. The middle band is a simple moving average that is usually set at 20 periods. Friends, please note a simple moving average is used because the standard deviation formula also uses a simple average. As we have learned earlier that standard deviation is a statistical concept that describes how prices are dispersed around an average value. And we have also seen the importance of using two standard deviation is that it ensures that 95% of the price data will fall between the two Bollinger Bands and we don't get excessive trades, not too few trades. So in order to find upper band and lower band values, we need to first find the standard deviation. And the formula for standard deviation is square root of summation of x minus x bar whole square divided by n minus 1. Here S stands for standard deviation. Then the first symbol inside the square root is known as sigma, which is in fact a Greek letter and stands for summation. And this means that whatever we are doing inside that brackets, we need to do it for each value we used to create the sum in the previous formula and finally add them all together. The next equals to each one of the numbers in our sum, which is in fact price in our case. The next bar is a standard value that doesn't change, which we have calculated previously. Now for us traders, x bar in this case means our simple moving average value. And finally n stands for number of periods. Now in the standard configuration of Bollinger Bands, we are always using 20. Friends, I hope at this level you know how to find an average, that is, x bar is simply sum divided by n. Where x bar is our simple moving average value, then sum equals to the value of periods which we use. If we are using 20 periods, then we must add the 20 values together. Then n equals to the number of periods which we are using, that is by default in Bollinger Band it's 20. Now if you are feeling bit confused, then please don't worry. Let's take a very simple example to understand Bollinger Band calculation and then we will take a practical example as well. So just imagine that you have three price data points, 60, 68 and 62. Now can you tell me what will be your 3-period simple moving average point or x bar? Well, yes, it will be 60 plus 68 plus 62 divided by 3, which is 63.3. So your sum equals to 60 plus 68 plus 62 is equals to 190. Then your x bar equals 190 divided by 3 equals 63.3. I hope you got this. Then next, to get the value of standard deviation, you begin by inserting each of the value of your simple moving average and repeating the formula of standard deviation as we have seen earlier. Now the calculation becomes easier when we see this table. Just write down the values of x, that is 60, 68 and 62 in this first column. Then in next column we will find x bar for the values of x, which we have already found as 63.3. In next column we will find x minus x bar and finally we will square this in the last column. So for the first value of x, that is 60, x bar is fixed for all, that is 63.3. Then x minus x bar will be simply 60 minus 63.3 equals negative of 3.3. And finally its square will be 10.89. Similarly, we will find all the values of x minus x bar whole square here. And finally we need summation of all these, which is required to find standard deviation. So summation will be 10.89 plus 22.09 plus 1.69, which is equal to 34.67. Finally, just plug in this value of summation of x minus x bar in the standard deviation formula. We get standard deviation equals square root of 34.67 divided by 3 minus 1, which is equal to square root of 34.67 divided by 2 equals 4.1635. So our first standard deviation point is 4.1635. Now in order to use this standard deviation to calculate the upper and lower bands corresponding to this SMA point, that is midpoint of 63.3, we will use the formula as we have seen in previous lectures. That is, upper band is simply simple moving average plus standard deviation multiplied by 2, and lower band value is simple moving average minus standard deviation multiplied by 2. Now friends, for our example, we know simple moving average equals 63.3 and standard deviation we have already calculated as 4.1635. So to find the upper Bollinger Band point, we simply put these values in the formula, that is 63.3 plus 4.1635 multiplied by 2. Now this means our first upper Bollinger Band point is 71.627. And for the lower Bollinger Band point, we simply put these values in the formula, that is 63.3 minus 4.1635 multiplied by 2. Now this means our first lower Bollinger Band point is 54.973. Now friends, in this example, we just found one upper and lower Bollinger Band point corresponding to mid-moving average point. But if you repeat this process with several values of mid-moving average, you will get the corresponding upper band and lower band points, which when joined together will form the bands enveloping the price as you have seen in your charts. So friends, I hope this basic example of Bollinger Band points calculation is clear to you. Then next, let's do a practical example to make the concept crystal clear. Now in practical, statisticians never calculate standard deviation manually like we did in previous example. They simply use STDEV formula in Excel and get the standard deviation very easily. Later in the practical example, you will see the practical implementation of this formula. The first thing you need in order to calculate Bollinger Bands using spreadsheet is definitely data for any stock or security. Let's do it for the stock Amazon. For this, just download the historical data file from Yahoo Finance or any other website. And the downloaded file will look somewhat like this. So I have this 1 month data here. Now we only require date and closing price for calculation of Bollinger Bands. Then next we will create new columns next to date and closing price, that is 20-day simple moving average or mid band. Then next column is 20-day standard deviation. Next we have upper band, which will be calculated by using the formula 20-day simple moving average plus STDEV multiplied by 2. Lastly, lower band will be calculated using the formula 20-day simple moving average minus STDEV multiplied by 2. And lastly, bandwidth, which is nothing but the distance between lower and upper band. Friend, our starting point will be to calculate the 20-period simple moving average and then replicate the calculation for each cell below. So for 20-day period from 1st July to 29 July, simple moving average will be sum of all these divided by 20. Or you can even use the average formula here. Now for this period, the simple moving average will come out to be 117.04, which is nothing but the midpoint of our band. Then next we will need to find the 20-period standard deviation, which we can easily find using the formula STDEV PA, which in this case comes out to be 6.25. Now once we have found the value of SMA and standard deviation, we will simply plug in these values in the formula of upper band and lower band. So upper band point will be simply simple moving average plus standard deviation multiplied by 2, which equals 117.04 plus 2 multiplied by 6.25, which equals 129.54. Similarly, lower band point will be simply SMA minus standard deviation multiplied by 2, which equals to 117.04 minus 2 multiplied by 6.25 equals 104.53. So as you can see, we got our 3 points required for Bollinger Bands for 29 July. That is midpoint, which is 117.04, upper band is 129.54, lower band is at 104.53. Similarly, we will find for next dates, which you can see in this Excel sheet. Finally, join all the upper band points to get the upper band of Bollinger Band. Similarly, join moving average points and lower band points respectively to get the full Bollinger Band on the chart like this. So friends, hope you are clear with the concept of Bollinger Band calculation. I have attached the Excel sheet in the resource section. You can download it for your reference.